let's move into this. I'm very excited about tonight's meeting. We have certain areas we're going to cover. We're going to talk about Zoom. We're going to talk about the art of club marketing. We're going to talk about why members matter. That is a very important part of this. The art of the club newsletter. The art of the close. Very important there too. Enhancing club meetings with guests. And then we'll have a little bit of time for questions and comments. What I'd like to do is introduce to everybody our first presenter, if he's ready. Are you ready, Adam?
I am, Ken.
Excellent. Our first presenter is the Division F Director and a member of Backtalkers and Just Speeches, Adam Brenner, who's going to talk to us about Zoom in relation to new members and how to set it up properly so you can get the most bang for your buck. Take it away, Adam.
Thank you, Ken. And thank you. Yes, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here once Ken allows me to get that access going. But I want to cover a few topics tonight. One is the meeting.
Should be going.
Thank you. All right. One is the meeting format. Two is how you do this Zoom registration. The third is virtual backgrounds like I have. And then three is a poll feature. And I'll discuss in depth about why all these are important to, one, new members, but also to retain your current membership. The most important thing that you can get out of this meeting is that Ken loves wine. But the second most important thing that you get out of this meeting is all the same formats that you did in your in-person meeting. Whether it's showing up early, socializing, having a fun time, picking on Ken about his wine selection, those can still carry forward in your virtual format. And in fact, it's even more important that you carry all those traits that made your club successful in an online format. It's so easy in this virtual format to get distracted. You got your cell phone, you're in your home, you got your family around, you got your dogs, your neighbors, you got Ken's wines, just totally making no sense in this context. And these are all distractions. So which is why it's important to make sure that every member, whether they're a guest or a regular Toastmaster member, have a role in their meeting. It could be as simple as have guests read the mission of the club and then ask them, what does it mean? Or have guests at the end of the meeting give feedback on what they thought was good, bad, and some areas for improvement. Have them be part of table topics. All these are very important because, again, if members are active during the meeting, they're going to show up next time and they're not going to be distracted by their cell phones. The next area I want to talk about is setting up that Zoom meeting. And there's a number of ways you can do it, but the way we found it successful is just like everyone had to join in today's meeting, was there's a feature on Zoom called Zoom registrations. And it allows everyone, members and guests, to register for a meeting. Now, let me say this again, register for a meeting. And that's important because when we met in person, we all had a physical book, a guest book that we had members sign in for. That served a bunch of purposes. One, it allowed us to get contact information from members. But two, it allowed us to go back in history and see, okay, where did members come from? How did they hear about our clubs? And allowed us to source materials for when we have an open house or a special event to reach out to all past members. Those skills apply in our virtual format. Sure, we're not writing on the physical guest book. Instead, it's a virtual one. And using that Zoom registration function, which I've circled on the bottom right of the screen, shows exactly how to make that happen. The second thing you can do with the Zoom meeting is make it recurring, which means that same Zoom link that you sent out to your members and your guests, it's the same one for every future meeting. You could have your meetings set up every week, every other week, every month, every 7,000 years if you're a comet, whatever it is, you can have it Zoom set up to match your club's schedule. And when people use that Zoom link for the first time, it's the same one. And the last thing you can do with that Zoom link is Zoom has it integrated built in so that when the meeting happens, it can notify you on your phone, whether it's using the add to calendar functionality, or you can have your guests share it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, email, whatever platform they're on. Have your guests work for you and advertise about your club. Now, when you create this Zoom meeting, it's going to give you this long, nasty URL, which I have on the top here. You know, zoom.us/meeting/register, and a whole bunch of letters none of us can say or pronounce, let alone remember. It's not even a word. But what you can do is use a URL shortener service, like the one I have here. And you can append your own custom name to it, such as Founders District Club Growth Workshop, FD Club Growth Workshop. One, it's easy to remember. Two, it looks nicer. But the most importantly is when you put your meeting invite in emails, your social media, your virtual flyers, it saves space and it's clickable. It's easy to remember. And if you don't like teeny URL, there's plenty of free services out there. Use one that works for you. The next thing is personalize yourself. Right now, I'm using the Toastmasters virtual background. However, you don't have to. I could be right now on a beach in Hawaii, enjoying myself while maybe I'm drinking some wine with Ken.
Aloha.
Aloha, thank you. Or I could be Mr. Top Gun fighting around, zooming my way through these Toastmaster meetings. You can make these virtual backgrounds personal. You can even associate it with a theme. Everyone can share some vacation pictures, and you can make that as part of a theme for a meeting. Again, it allows you to personalize yourself in this virtual format. And if you don't have any cool backgrounds like I do, Toastmasters provides plenty of them. You can have your timer use their background to time as timing lights, green, yellow, red. And this is great when, rather than calling out during middle of someone's speech, green, yellow, red. The timing lights are with the virtual backgrounds are a great addition.
Yeah, Adam,
yes.
can I just interrupt very quickly? Someone's got an open mic and it's very disturbing. There's background talking somewhere, coming from somewhere.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. If you're not Adam, could you please mute yourself? If not, Ken, maybe you could click the mute all button.
I'll see what's going on here.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and continue. Thank you, Richard. The next thing I want to focus on is one of the things that makes Toastmasters great is that constant feedback. Whether you had your best table topic speaker, or best evaluator, and you can do that by using the Zoom poll feature. This allows you to ask every member and guest who is the best speaker, who is the best table topics, who is the best evaluator, and they can do this anonymously. And you can do this as a host or co-host by enabling it during the meeting, after or even before the meeting. And you click the little icon down the bottom I've highlighted as a host or co-host, and you can set up your meetings that way. Excuse me. And it's a great way, like I said, to solicit feedback from your members. With that, those are all the tips and tricks I'm going to share with you tonight. If you have any questions, maybe we can limit it to about 1 or 2 before we move on to next speakers. But there's plenty more tips, but these are the ones that will make your club successful when you host an open house or have guests or retain membership.
Bravo. Yay.
That's good data. I'd like to share that with my clubs. Do you have that? Can you forward that data to us? Will
Yes.
all the presentations be forwarded to us?
We can start dropping things into the chat, and that way you can all download it as you need it.
That'd be good.
Absolutely. So that was exciting. You now know a little bit more about Zoom and how it's working for everybody. We all know how to do a meeting in person, but this is such a new environment for everyone. We're in our, what, 5th month of this, and we're all learning. It's a great thing. But think of it this way. You've worked really hard. You set up your Zoom meeting. You sent out your invitations. People are coming into the meeting. But how do you get them to come into the meeting? That's the big question. How do you market your club? And that's what I'm going to cover right now. Are you ready? Because everybody thinks in a club, the vice president of membership and the vice president of public relations should be marketing their club. That's true. However, every club member should be marketing the club. They should all be invested in the vision of what that club is and how it works and how it operates, and go out and tell everybody they know about their club and how proud they are to be a member of that club, and invite those people that they can come in contact with to join. Every club member is responsible for helping build club membership. And yes, the vice president of membership, and yes, the vice president of public relations, and the vice president of education, the president, everyone has a role to play, but every club member has a role to play. Absolutely. So let's talk up a club. How do you do that? You go to your friends, your families, your contacts. You talk about your experiences. How has the club changed you? What transformation have you made since you joined Toastmasters? A lot of people talk about that. When they go to work, people notice a change. When they are at home, they notice a change. When they're in their church, they notice a change. When they're in their community, at the PTA or a soccer league with their kids, they notice a change because of their Toastmasters experience. And that's because Toastmasters gives you confidence, and the confidence to go out and conquer, to do the things that you need to do. That's important. And if you just take that one message about the confidence and the change and go out to your group of contacts and invite them to your club, they too can experience the change. Makes sense. Absolutely. You need to, as a club, have a strong, consistent message. Absolutely. You have to market the club consistently and often. Every week you have to be out there marketing that club. Every week. Without fail, you've got to have your VP of membership, your VP of public relations, sending information out so that you can go and let people know that your club exists and what you do. You have to make sure the look is consistent for your club. And very importantly, you need to have the club's printed materials and visual materials follow the Toastmasters guidelines for branding. That's very important, so things are consistent. And if you want more information about branding, we'll have a special seminar, I suspect, somewhere along the way that's going to talk about branding in the Toastmasters style. But it is important to do it, and to do it correctly. And don't be afraid to put out an ad for your club in local print media. Use your club funds wisely, your club dues, because it's not all just about social media. There is print. Print does exist. People read the newspaper. They read the Orange County Journal in the print edition. They read magazines, all kinds of different things that go on, neighborhood flyers. It's all out there. These are all avenues to use. The second thing that really can work in your favor, especially in this digital age, is to record the meetings and the speeches and to place them on Facebook, YouTube, all the other places you might have your club information. However, and this is the caveat, make sure that everybody signs off that they can have their video used, because you don't want to post a video of somebody who's in witness protection and then have them have an issue. You have to make sure that everybody is signed on to make sure that video can go out. But it's not that hard to do. Most people want to see themselves on YouTube, and most people want to see themselves on Facebook Live. Absolutely. In corporate clubs, same thing applies. And for corporate clubs, the videos are so important, because here's a chance for you as a corporate club member to show the upper management what you can do. Now, if you're the upper management, you set an example for the people below you. But if you're trying to rise up in the ranks, then you can have a platform to really shine and perhaps get that raise that you've been wanting. That is a great thing. You need to do that. So show the upper management what you have to offer, and don't be afraid to do that. Social clubs, use Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Alignable, Local Patch, Meetup, Twitter. I'm sure I forgot a whole bunch of them, but they're all out there. Consistent message out there every week. Your club is meeting, what your club is about. If it's a specialty club, like we talked about wine on Wednesday, they talk about wine. If you're La Gourmet, it's all about food. They talk about food. There's just speeches. That club, they talk about how to give a great speech and a presentation. That's what it is. So they talk about those clubs specifically on how to do that.
Lens Masters talks about just photography.
Yeah, see, there you go, Lens Masters. There's a lot of them. Absolutely. The other place to really reach out for both corporate and social clubs is LinkedIn. LinkedIn gives you a base of professionals that are out there looking to help improve their lives and make their lives better. Don't be afraid to use your LinkedIn network and talk about your club. Post a video if you can do it. Do what you have to do, but that's a great resource and one that should not be overlooked. Absolutely. Now, one of the clubs I belong to, San Clemente Toastmasters, we used to have a deal with the city of San Clemente that every week we could go out to the street fair and have a booth to talk about our club for no charge. It was fantastic. We gained so many members in the 3 years that we did that. It was absolutely stunning. So if you have a chance to go out and do a street fair, have a booth once a month, take that opportunity to go out and be a part and participate in an event. Have a booth at a soccer tournament with all these different people that are coming in. A great way to get people to come into your club and let them know about your Toastmasters experience. Conversely, corporate clubs. How do you get people into your club and a corporate club? Well, first of all, office newsletters. Talk about your club. Get a little write-up of what's going on. But the real key, I think, in corporate clubs, there's two things. Number one is executive speakers. We're going to talk about that later on in this seminar, in this workshop. But the other key is your human resources manager. Every time a new person is hired, they should be shunted over into the Toastmasters Club immediately. The human resources manager should use the Toastmasters Club as a building block for that company's employees to help them grow and become more confident. And if they do that, if they use that as a building block, then they're going to have stronger employees, more professional employees. We've found in Toastmasters, and I've read a little bit about this, that the people who are in Toastmasters clubs in a corporate environment gain more confidence. They're able to tackle projects, do things more completely, more professionally. They help the bottom line of the club tremendously. And those people who are in a Toastmasters club tend to earn almost 40% more money than those who are not. So that's a huge, huge incentive. 40%, I could use an extra 40%. But look at professional organizations. If you're a corporate club that's open, meaning people can come into your corporate club from the outside, there's professional organizations that you're affiliated with. That's a great place to go and find new members for your club as well. Now, last thing you can do in a corporate environment, and this one is, I thought of this today, and it didn't really occur to me until I was going through all this, and I go, oh my gosh, I totally missed this. If you're in a corporate club and you've won a speaking ribbon or a certificate and you hang it in your office or your cubicle or whatever it is that you are in your office, other people are going to walk by and see that. They're going to ask, how did you get this? What does this mean? And you can explain to them, well, I got this at my Toastmasters club because I gave a great speech and I won the speech contest and everybody loved it. And I got a round of applause for 3 minutes. Fantastic. They're going to go, well, how can I do that? You're going to say, well, just come to the meeting next Thursday. There you go. Great way to recruit people. Just that little visual cue of a ribbon or a certificate makes a big, big difference. When you're going to attract club members, advertise consistently and often. Have a short, strong message. And when you have your message out there, make sure there's at least 2 methods of contact, a phone number and an email at the bare minimum. There's got to be a way for people to reach out and reach to you to get those new members in. And when you do this, you can capture their emails, their phone numbers, whatever it is, so you can have further contact down the road. And don't be afraid to ask people, because it's a numbers game, honestly. I have to tell you a quick story. I lived in Newport Beach in college, and there was a guy who lived next door to me who was a photographer for Surfer magazine. And there would be girls, young girls, running in and out of his apartment day and night. I said to him, how is this possible? He said, quite bluntly, I ask 100 girls if they want to come over and hang out. 2 of them say yes, and I just keep going and going and going. So it's just about asking people and asking a lot of people, making sure that your club members ask people all the time, every week, consistently, week after week after week. And that's the way to do it, to get your club members in there. And don't be afraid to think out of the box about getting club members. I'm sure there's a million other things we could talk about and spend hours on this, but we don't have the time for that. But if you have ideas, send them to me, because I can use that for the future. I would greatly appreciate it. And now, this is the exciting thing that's going to happen. You set up your Zoom meeting. You've invited all these people. You've worked really hard to get a whole bunch of guests to come to the meeting. And you're asking, why do new members matter? What is the point of having new members in our club? We have people in our club. Why do we need new ones? Well, today, Kathy Hughes, who's the club membership growth chair for this year, also member of Second Stage, Broadly Speaking, and 3 other clubs. She's a little fanatical about Toastmasters, so she knows a lot. Is going to tell us why new members matter. Kathy, let's find out. Is she there?
She's on mute.
Let me unmute.
All right. I don't
There
know.
you are. It's
Somehow
all you.
I had unmuted myself. Thank you, Ken, for that really nice introduction. Yes, I'm going to talk to you today about why new members matter so much. Why new members matter? Well, it's not what you think, maybe. It's not because they make the district successful, even though they do. It's not because they make you as club officers successful, although they do. But why it matters is that it impacts the quality of your club members, all of their enjoyment of their meetings, and it just gives you better quality club in general. There's many types of new members, and they all add value in their own way, but I'm going to talk about a couple of differences in the different kinds of members and what they all have to add. And all of our clubs are different. We know that. We've got so many specialty clubs that are completely different, but there's a couple of categories of clubs that make a difference in how they need new members. So I'll talk to you about that. In your club, when you have a new member, it could be a brand new first-time Toastmaster, never been to a club before that, and they joined your club. Well, brand new members are great for a club because, number one, they come in, they're completely impressionable. They're like sponges drinking in all that information that you have to give them. They're eager, and they bring a lot of new energy to the club. And the last thing, that I think is really important about brand new members, they need mentors. And why is that good for your club and your club members? Because your members need to have an opportunity to be mentors, and it's part of their projects and part of their leadership goals. If you bring in another type of member, which is also good for the club. They might be a dual member, like Ken mentioned, I'm a dual member and maybe a 5-time member actually. But dual members, you bring them into a club. These are experienced Toastmasters, but they bring new skills that are maybe different than the skills of your members that are already existing in the club. And you may need new club officers, and these people are potential to be club officers because they're coming in with some wealth of experience already, which is great. Another type of member that you might want to bring into your club is a reinstated member. That's really exciting because you bring somebody in that was a former member of your club and they had to leave for one reason or another. It's exciting welcoming them back home. And then they also hit the ground running because they know what you expect of a club member in your club. They were a club member in your club, but they may need some Pathways mentoring if they've been gone that long that they were not on the Pathways program. So that's something to think about for a reinstated new member to your club. And then lastly, I want to talk about the transfer member. And that's a little complicated. They're great members to have, but there's one little complication is that when a member is considered a transfer member, that means that they already paid their dues to another club and they transferred their membership, which will not really count for your club's membership until their next dues payment. So if you get a new transfer member and they start their membership in June, you don't get to count them for your DCP club goals. But that's not what it's about. They bring great different experiences from their former club's culture, which is great for you to have. That's kind of the 4 categories. There's certainly different things about different members, as many different things about potential new members as there are about any person on the face of the earth. But there's also different clubs and they need members for different reasons. The first one, and the one that mostly needs new members, is the struggling club. The struggling club, that's a club that's got 12 or fewer members, and they're already having great difficulty filling their meeting roles. They don't have any breaks for anyone because every week's meeting, they've got to serve a role or speak or do something. And it also tends to be, because you've got a small group of people, the same old thing over and over again. It's like Groundhog's Day, if any of you watched Bill Murray in Groundhog's Day. The club officers are stressed out in a struggling club. And it's also harder to attract new members because you have a potential new member that joins as a guest to your meeting. You want them to see a vibrant and healthy club because that's what's going to motivate them to join. And they may not see that in a struggling club. But the good news is they are eligible for a club coach. And that is an area where that club coach will really work together with you as a club to bring in new members to your struggling club. But they're not the only type of club that needs new members. There's what I call the 20-ish member club, and that's probably anything from about 15, 16 to about 24 members. That's a lot of our clubs in Founders District. But anyone that's that close to the 20 mark, they could be in for a surprise at dues renewal time because they may not have that many really truly active members and they may lose people. So a 20-ish member club needs to plan and expect that members may leave and have replacements. It's always a better meeting in a 20-ish club when there are guests, when there are new members. Everyone has that much more vibrancy and enthusiasm. And they have some of the many same issues as a struggling club, but the truth is they're not eligible for a club coach. And then there's the what I call the awesome club. Now, we have some awesome clubs in Founders District, but many of us are not quite there. This is a club that has plenty of members already. They already are filling all the roles easily, have extra people at their meetings. They have excellent club leadership, excellent members that are achieving high numbers of educational goals. So why does an awesome club need to add members? Well, for one reason, it's to give back and share your awesome successes with them. And so they too can be successful like your current members. And lastly, because you are an awesome club and you rock, so bring on those new members. There are corporate clubs and there are community clubs that fall into all three of those categories. Corporate clubs, and Ken made a reference to that, they could be open clubs or closed clubs, and then the community clubs that are open. Corporate clubs may have some challenges because they have membership restrictions, adding new members, so they're limited only to employees, but they also could be an open club that could have both employees and non-employees. And if the club is paying for membership, well, that might be a little bit of an issue because they certainly wouldn't want to do that for non-employees. But there can be things worked out so that even those clubs might be able to get a really great membership growth. There's also community clubs, and usually community clubs are great for adding new members because they're open to all potential members. And I was trying to think of any negative on that. The only thing would be when you're open to all potential members, just make sure all of your new members are voted in, because if you have to, if there's something off with these new members and they're disruptive, you may need to vote them out. So that's the summary of the different clubs and why they need new members. And those new members really matter to the clubs. So how do you make the members feel as valuable as they are? These new members, they matter. So you've got to first and foremost assign them a mentor in the club, somebody that's experienced, someone that's supportive, somebody that will work to understand that new member's specific and individual goals and work with them so that they know that they're going to gain great value from the program. You may need to reschedule your assigned roles for the next several meetings because you should give them speaking slots early on and encourage members to give up a speaking slot to a new member that wants to give their first icebreaker. You want to do one other thing, and this doesn't always happen, but I think it's a great exercise, is give them a path for eventual club leadership. Because if they can see their path into club leadership, and they may not be ready to start day one, but they'll feel more value because they know they're adding value to their club. And just keep checking with those new members. Make sure that their needs are really being met. They are very valuable. They're your biggest asset of the club. So with these types of things in consideration, I hope nobody has any question in their mind that new members really matter. New members matter immensely. They come in many different types, and the clubs they join are also various different types of clubs. But all members are valuable to all clubs. And if you're wondering, will you be successful as club officers and district leadership teams? Yes, you will, by adding new members, but it's not the main point. And that is why new members matter. Our next speaker on the agenda that is going to tell us a wealth of information about the art of the club newsletter.
Hey, Kathy,
Hi, yes.
could I interrupt you really quickly?
Certainly.
Before you introduce the next speaker, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to say that was spectacular. You did a really nice job, and I really got a lot from that. So nice job.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I'm glad that you interrupted because I can drop the outline of this presentation into the group chat if anyone's interested for taking any notes. And I will do that. All right. Next on the agenda, Frederick Trapini will tell us about the art of the club newsletter. So welcome, Frederick.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Ken. My name is Fred Trapini. I'm in Club 417. The only club I've ever been in. I joined about 3.5, 4 years ago. And I just went to meetings and that was it. Then the next week I went to another meeting and it was very segmented. Then one time we had last I think February, am I on still? Last February, we had 3 guest speakers. So I'm a writer, so I just wrote up a review of the speakers. I put a title to the meeting, the theme, word of the day, and then I did a little bit with the table topics, and I just wrote a review of what the speakers did, and I sent it to all the members of our club. I didn't even ask anybody. I just thought it'd be a good idea. And it turned out people liked it. So I started doing it, and the only time I ever missed is I go away for about 7 weeks a year, and that's the only time I would ever miss. So what I've been doing is writing up a review, and it started out with just texts, and everybody was pretty happy with that. But as time goes on, I ended up doing pictures, and that takes a lot more time, but I sort of enjoy it. I take a lot of pictures during the meeting. I've got my camera and my cell phone camera. I snap pictures and I get to see what all these people are doing. And I get a number of pictures that I can keep it very fresh. So everybody who's at the meeting and does something, gets a picture in the paper or in my newsletter. And maybe some people who don't do anything, of course, I try to include everybody in something. So almost everybody, we have 20 members as it turns out. And I guess we'd call ourselves struggling. I don't really feel that way, but I do know that every club has 40% loss every year. So I think the idea of keeping people fresh makes it really good. So the newsletter, I sent Ken a couple pictures of newsletters. Ken, are you available to put one up?
I'm going to try and do that for you just right. Here we go. Let's start with your first one.
Okay.
Can you see that?
The very first one. Okay. That just was a January 29th newsletter. And all it is just a little introduction of what's going on. And I highlight every name that somebody does something. Jeff happened to be our president, so I talk about him. Slide down a little further, Ken, will you please for me? Just go on. And so everybody gets right there. Now, I had table topics that day, so it was all about animals. So I had a board and people picked an animal, and just because it happened to be Chinese New Year, behind a rat, I put a $5 bill. Anybody who chose a rat was going to get a bonus of $5 bills. So I do stuff like that when I'm doing table topics. I give away gifts and coffee mugs and whatever it is for a winner. And that sort of keeps people interested and a little different. So they just went up and picked that when I asked the question, then we did the table topics. And then I feel that I have a lot of liberty with table topics, and it's supposed to be fun. It's an entertaining newsletter. So we just tell keep it light, very light. And then we get to the part where we have the break. Then after the break, we have naturally our speakers. And so I kind of hold that as sacred ground. I will do a review of the speech. And once I'm done with the review, I send it to the speaker that night, or that day actually. And I ask them to edit it. There's 2 reasons I do this. Number one, I want them to make sure that the message that they wanted to send out, we heard. And sometimes that's not what happens. Sometimes they think they made a point and I didn't pick it up. I mean, somebody might have, but so they have to stress that. So next time they give that speech, they can be more aware of what they're doing. And so they feel pretty confident about that. I give them until 10 o'clock the next morning to get it back to me. And if it's not, then I just have to let it go. I want the newsletter to be fresh and to go out. And that happens with all of them. So Ken, could you go to the next newsletter for me, please?
All right.
You'll see a change in things. Thank you. Okay. And this one happened to be April Fool's. So a lot of people wore masks and stuff. So I got pictures of them. I didn't use the pictures I already had. So whenever they talked, I put a picture. This is one of our fellows with a mask on, and the newsletter will take some changes. So it just says April Fool's and has the word of the day, but it's rather plain looking. And I wanted to get more colorful into it, so I started doing it. And anytime I made a comment, I put it in blue, so that would be know that they didn't say it. And I use quotes, and I try to quote as much as I can, but I give gist a lot, and it's very hard to. We have about 8 or 9 table topics every time we have it, and that gives us quite a bit. See that everybody's wearing masks and putting on silly things, so I got pictures of everybody, and I take pictures of everybody all the time, and inevitably everybody's drinking coffee, and pretty much I've got a picture of everybody drinking coffee. So sometime I'm going to put out a newsletter with everybody's picture with a cup of coffee, and they're drinking coffee. You won't see any faces, but it'll be kind of a fun thing to do to make people enjoy what they're doing. And Ken, I'm sure they get you with some wine glasses from time to time too. So go on down a little further and let's see what else is on this newsletter. So because it's been over 2 years we've been doing it. So I always put a break in there, and these are all these pictures that are in the break. These are what people were talking about, and from one of the table topics. So I put the pictures of what they had said, and I just let it fly with that. And then each speaker now, I usually underline the name of the speech, and I give a review. And it's real important to send the review to the person so they can correct it and they can realign it, or they can see the sequence of events that wasn't quite clear. Maybe they will change them the next time. So that's why I find that to be really, really important. But sometimes I don't get reviews, and I ask to say, listen, I missed that section that you were talking about, and would you please clear it up for me? So they will do that, and that makes a better review. I send this out to just the members, but we have one of our members liked it enough, so we put it on our website. So now it's on our website, and he's thinking about putting it out into Facebook. So I think I'm going to have to get a release of everybody picture, because I don't know if you can send a picture out without being. I just think it's a problem if someone doesn't agree with it. So we'll see how it goes. I don't put any pictures on the club page, because it's really hard to do, and I don't think that's the most important thing. But I think it really would be nice. But every member gets the pictures. Would you slide down a little further, see, Ken, what else we have? Okay, go on down. So this is another speech, and this man, back up just a little. Okay, so he talked about, just a little further, please. I want to get the picture. Okay, he was talking about changing of mind, and he talked about a guru he had, and so I always include the pictures of these. They show a picture. I try to copy it and include it in their speech review. And then go on down a little further, Ken, if you would. And this is the last speech. This guy took a bike across. He wanted to know what an immigrant would feel like going across a desert. So he rode his bike across Arizona to get that feeling. And he's a triathlete, so he didn't have much trouble doing it, but made a really authentic speech. And go down to the last part of it, please. Okay, I always try to include today's ribbons, and I always put their names on, and now I put their pictures on if I have enough space. And this is a little bit, I put a joke on there, coronavirus advice, couples, no touching, no kissing, definitely no sex, married people, continue as normal. And, we try to be careful about what we would put on there, but once in a while we sneak one in like that is marginal, I'll say marginal. So, okay, Ken, would you put another one up? Another picture, another email, another newsletter?
You want the third one or the one you sent today?
Third one would be good. Okay. So now you see it has a bit of a different look. I try to get different colors in there all the time. Sometimes I make 2 columns like it is, and other times I make it look like newsprint, but you'll see everybody's picture. We always introduce our guests, and I always try to get their pictures on the very front. I get their emails, and I always send them a copy of this particular, we call it the meeting review, or it's also called the newsletter. If there's any announcements, I put them in the front paragraph, the first paragraph, and it reads like text a lot of times, like you're reading a story. I try to do that because I'm a story writer, and most of my speeches are stories anyway. So then we have somebody. The next speaker was Norma. She talked about, she was doing table topics, so I just kind of gave her what she said. She talked about the origin of barbecue, and it was from an Indian tribe in South America. So we talked about that. So slide down a little further, please, Ken. All right, now we have, these are everybody who had jobs, and it turns out all the men got jobs that day. So we called Where the Boys Are and just put it in there, and we talk about what each role was, because I want to make everybody's role in there. I want everybody to feel significant and important and contributing. And I take several pictures because I really want to get the best picture, most admirable picture, because some of the pictures are not pretty. So we have to really make sure we do a good job. If we're going to put somebody's picture in there, we do not want them to be unhappy about the picture. So go down a little further. I happen to have a speech that day, and so we had 3 speeches. And these are I guess these aren't speeches yet, are they? No, these are still the questions and table topics. So then we go down, have a break, and then Giselle had a speech this day. And there's something real important about this. I sent the speech to her for editing, and she restructured the whole thing, because I said it's going to appear on the website, so you'll be satisfied with what you write. And Giselle's a DTM, and I think she's really active in Toastmasters and really is a terrific person. And she's our president as well. So I really want to make sure that she's satisfied with what's going on. And there's 2 other speeches in there. Go ahead, the next one, Ken. So I just want to show the picture. See the ribbon next to that person? The ribbon means that she's an award winner for the speech for that day. And she talked about her grandchildren, being a grandmother. So I got a picture of her grandkids in it. It's really personalized. I think people feel good when their story seems to matter, and it's out there. They visualize it. Now we all know that she's a grandmother, and she's got 2 grandchildren. We get to know what they look like. So we really get to have that opportunity. There's one more speaker. I think it's me. Go down. Yeah. No, it's Shonda. Okay. So Shonda is new, and she's been with us for, I think, 8 weeks, and she gave her 5th speech today. So she's really a crackerjack to have, and she's actually a keynote speaker, and she is going to be doing fabulous in this club because she's just got talented. She has the same problem I have, limiting our speeches to less than 5 minutes. I think that I gave my shortest speech I've ever given today. It was 6 minutes and 28 seconds. I had a 4 to 6 minute speech. So I'm a teacher, so I have a tendency to want to do a 15-minute speech because that's the length of time a high school kid can pay attention. And after that, you have to do something different. So that's what I've done in my career. So go down a little further. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, Fred. If you don't mind a quick interruption, Fred, she actually was the featured speaker last night at Founders District Speakers Bureau and was outstanding. Yeah,
she is outstanding. She really knows her stuff. In fact, she wrote something I didn't quite understand. So I went to her website and I listened to about 4 of her interviews to get a better idea. So if I have to write next time anything about what she does, I really know where she's coming from. So it requires some research on my part too. If you're going to be a writer, you really have to be, you can't just sling it. I think you got to really know what you're doing. So I spend the time to, when we hang up, we're from 7 to 8:30. I take about a half hour off and I start typing, and usually I spend 4 hours on a newsletter. And now I do with pictures, it takes a little longer. My day is pretty full because I have a 2-hour meeting with my family every Wednesday from 10 to 12. So I really don't get going on this newsletter till around 1 o'clock. And around 5 o'clock, I'm pretty much done, and I've sent it out to everybody. And they send me it back, and in the morning I clean it up and I just send it out. I just sent it out today around 4 o'clock, the newsletter, and I sent it to Ken too, so you see that one. Go down just a little further, Ken.
That's as far as it goes.
It is. There's no. I don't have the winners in there, huh? Okay.
It's at the very bottom. Table topics, evaluator, speaker.
Okay, and I don't have the news. I don't have the ribbon winners. Okay, that's right. We'll go to the last one. We'll just show what happened today. So today's was, the theme was rainbows. So we try to do as many rainbows, put as many colors in there, and try to make it interesting and appealing, the very first thing that they look at. And we talked about some of the problems we're having. And naturally, everything is technological right now, and we're having a good time. But there are some difficulties. So our table talk gave everybody a color to talk about. So the first person talked about red, then the next one did orange, then yellow. Go on down a little further. Okay, so but he didn't mention black. So it just happened that we all were wearing different colors that day, but 5 of us were wearing black. So I asked, well, what does that mean? So we didn't get the answer to that. Maybe he'll respond to it later. And then go on down the rest of the way. We'll take a look at and continue on. So the break is important. Right after the break, we decided that we did not have our president who was running the meeting, so somebody else took over, and she did not have screen share available. So we decided what we're going to do is take screen share and give it to somebody else. So it didn't work. I got cut out. I was muted the rest of the meeting. I didn't have video, so I couldn't take any more pictures. So the rest of it is mostly my speech, because I got the most of it. The other part we misplaced. So we discussed that there are problems, and we're going to be able to fix those problems in the future, I think. So my goal for doing a newsletter is, number one, when new people come, they get the newsletter, they get to see what we're doing. I think we have a lot of fun in our club. We're pretty lighthearted, and we enjoy each other. And I think this is supposed to reflect the enjoyment that we have. It's still a business, and we still have to do things. So we continue on. And the very end of this newsletter talks about, go to the end. Okay, you go a little further? Just a little further.
As far as it goes.
That's it, okay. Well, you missed the pictures of, I got 3 monkeys there.
They're there.
See no video, hear no audio, and mute were the 3 monkeys I put up there, because it caused problems. And we did not even get to vote because there was so many problems with people not being able to connect. I was the grammarian as well as the speaker and joke master, and I had to call Jeff. He was help running, and I told him, he announced everything out because he was still being able to talk. So today's meeting was difficult, and we think we can fix that, but this is the first time we've had any difficulty with the meeting. But in terms of the newsletter, the goal is to make people feel good and be recognized for what they're doing. And so Jeff, I say, he not only was evaluator, he was also general evaluator. People respond very favorably to this. I don't think I've only had one negative comment when I misquoted somebody, and so they told me that I made a misquote. And that's why I send it to people, to make sure that they are satisfied, they feel recognized, they know that their work is being out there, and other people get to see it, and everybody's pretty happy you're doing this. It's effort, and that's my contribution to this club, to give a newsletter that's interesting, exciting, I think, and make people feel good. And that's what I do. I'm happy to entertain any questions. I think my time's up pretty much. Usually, here I am, 15 minutes every time I talk, so.
You made it.
I did it. I got through. I didn't even see a green light or red light today, so.
That's all good.
Okay, if anybody wants to ask me a question, I think I saw some chat questions, so I'll be happy to answer them.
Let's look in there real quick. All right.
Oh, by the way, there are other formats too. I just happen to use this format because I like Word. There are more professional formats, I believe. I haven't explored them all, and maybe we'll do that if somebody wants to change the format. I'm game for whatever they want to do. I'm also game for giving it up if somebody wants to do it instead. You know, it's It's not an ego trip for me. I'm happy to do it. But if somebody else wants to take it over, I've had nobody mention that they want to spend 4 hours after the meeting doing this. So that's where we're at. I'm retired. I'm
I do want to
76.
say that I know it doesn't take 4 hours to do a newsletter. You can do it more rapidly,
I sure can.
but it just depends on the style that you choose for your club. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, that's just me. But I'm not drinking wine while I'm doing it, Ken. I want you to know that.
Okay, that's all good. Don't worry about that. But a newsletter, we put this in there because a lot of clubs don't have communication like a newsletter. A newsletter is so critical, not just for member retention to highlight what the members are doing, but you can use it as a marketing tool to show others what your club is doing to help bring in new members. A newsletter is such an important piece to a club. And yes, you can do it in 15 minutes, you can do it in an hour, you can do it in 4 hours, but it can be done. Now, if you're also using free Toast Host, if you go on and have your club roles listed there and people are signing up on the website, the free Toast Host, there's a email function there. You can actually just use that and write notes of what happened in the meeting and send that out. That's good enough
I think so.
to make sure that members stay engaged all the time. Because you work really hard to get the members. You set up your Zoom meeting, you know that they matter, they've got to come to the meeting, they do all the things that you have to do. And then how many times have you been to a meeting and you're sitting there, you're going, wow, this is fantastic. And the president of the meeting ends it and says, thank you all for coming. Show of hands, how many times has that happened? A lot. That's not how you end a meeting. No. The president or whoever's in charge of that meeting has to, number one, make sure that everyone has a chance to speak, including the guests. You have to ask them how they feel or what their thoughts were on the meeting. And then, and this is the most important part, do not be afraid to ask them to become a member. I'm going to repeat that. Do not be afraid to ask them to become a member. So many times I've gone to meetings and they don't ask the guest if they'd like to become a member. Now, they may not say they're going to become a member that moment, but if they're interested, you want to give them a membership packet if you have it, if you're meeting in person. If you're meeting online, make sure that you have at the ready a digital membership application for your club. So you can email it to them. And then your vice president of membership and your vice president of PR and whoever else you want to have in your club, do it, follow up and make sure they got it and ask if they have any questions and perhaps help them fill it out. And that's one way to gain members, but you have to ask. You have to ask. You have to ask. If you don't ask, they're not going to join. It's that simple. It's the number one failing of all people in sales. They say that 97% of all salespeople fail because they do not ask for the sale. And asking somebody to become a member is just like making a sale. You have to ask for it. You may get a no, but that's okay. Because if somebody says no, then that means they're not that invested in it. But if somebody's excited and they see the value of what you're doing, and you ask them to become a member, oh my God, they're gonna be so enthused, excited. They're gonna go out there and rip it up and give you a great speech.
I know. Always be closing.
Always be closing, absolutely. You know, you make sure you get their contact information. And in Zoom, if you're doing a meeting, you have registration, pre-registration, list everybody's email who signed up so that you kind of have it there, but don't rely on that. If you have a guest, make sure that you get their contact information. And then Kathy talked a little bit about this. I want to reemphasize a couple of things she said. They've come to the meeting and they've said, yes, I want to be a member. Oh my God, this is the best thing ever. My career is going to take off. I'm going to get going. I'm going to give speeches. I'm going to gain confidence. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to conquer the world. They're going to do all that, but there's some follow-up that needs to be done. Number one, you have to make sure they have the membership form. They filled it out correctly. They have to, and Kathy said this, and this is so important, when you have a new member, you need to assign them a mentor within the club to help them wade through all the Toastmasters things. And there's a lot. Let's not kid ourselves. There's a lot involved in being a member of Toastmasters. You have to learn pathways. You have to learn how a club runs, what meeting rules are, procedures, policies, etiquette, protocols, all these things. It has to be learned, and you need a mentor to help you do that. And I want to take this moment to say that even though you're a club member and you've been there for 10 years, it doesn't hurt to have a mentor, even if you're a 10-year veteran, because you might learn something new. It might help you brush up on your skills. You might be lacking. You might want to try something new out. It doesn't matter. It helps to have a mentor, even if you're a current club member, not just for new members. So please remember that. And all vice presidents of education, that's kind of the job, is to help find a club mentor. Absolutely. Now, Kathy also talked about this, and this is the other important thing. When you get a new member, be sure to vote them in. Because if you vote them in, everybody agrees they should come in, you like them, everything's going great. And then 7 months later, they go crazy. Something's happened in their life and they go nuts. And they're not able to do what they're supposed to do. And you need to vote them out. And voting somebody in and voting them out is a huge protection for your club for any potential issues that could arise from that person. So please vote the new members in and then vote them out if you have to. Rarely do you vote out a member, but it does happen on occasion. Now, if the member is, prospective member, the guest is there and they're undecided, there's a very simple way to help get them to be decided. Invite them back. Have them come to another meeting. Say, look, maybe this meeting was different. I want you to come experience another meeting so that you can really get the full impact of what Toastmasters does to help people change their lives, help people gain the confidence, transform themselves, or as they say on the website now for Toastmasters International, build a better you. Have them come back to a second meeting. It's okay. And then maybe they'll do it. Just like advertising, I said earlier, repetition, repetition, repetition. If they come back to a meeting 2 or 3 times, they'll get into the groove, they'll meet people, they'll start getting more friendly, they'll feel comfortable, and then they'll most likely join. It's not always a one-stop shop or one-shot stop, as they say. So it takes time occasionally, not always, but sometimes. So don't be afraid to invite them back. I believe that there's a lot of things you can do to enhance a club meeting. And there's one thing that really helps a club shine. After you've gotten these people in, you've given them the form, they're excited, they're going, their life is great. And that's what our next presenter is going to talk about. There's a thing called an executive speaker series or guest speakers. And Radhika, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. So Radhika Kumar, who's with the Ingram microphones, is going to tell us about the program that they use to bring in executive speakers and why their club thrives and flourishes because of their executive speakers. If you could take it away, Radhika.
Sure, thank you. Let me share my screen real quick. Can you see the PowerPoint?
No.
No, I don't see it.
Oh,
There you are.
now? Okay. Here. Oops. All right, so hi everyone, good evening. Before I get started, I just want to warn you, I have a little bit of a cough, so I may cough in between, so I apologize for that. I don't have COVID in case you're wondering. I got tested, but just wanted to warn you. So I'm here to talk about the Toastmasters Executive Speaker event that our club does. I was the most recent chair of the event, so I'm just here to talk about it and just share some of my experiences. Okay. So overview, just some background on Ingram Microphones. We are a corporate club. So our club is affiliated with the company Ingram Micro. We are an open club, so our membership usually is about 50% Ingram Micro employees and 50% of people outside of Ingram. So what the Toastmasters Executive Speaker Event is, it's an event we hold on every quarter. And we basically invite a top executive of Ingram Micro to come speak to our company and the Toastmasters Club and just share some of their public speaking experiences and how to help them be successful in their careers and in their life. The event is open to all U.S. Ingram associates, and sometimes the Toastmasters Club, we also often invite like the district leadership, other clubs in the district as well. Traditionally, this event, it was held at Ingram Micro in Irvine, and we usually had about 50 to 60 people attend. Because of COVID recently, the latest event was virtual, which actually was great because we had 376 attendees since we didn't have to limit any space or any of that. So one question many people have is how we invite our speaker. So Ingram Micro, it has a very nice open door culture policy. The executives are very approachable. So we usually invite executives from our corporate organization as well as the North American organization, with preference given to the corporate organization. In the past, we've only selected Irvine-based executives because the event was in Irvine, but now that we're doing it virtually, we may have speakers from a different location. We either ask them via email, but usually we go up and ask them in person. And when I say we, I mean really Amy Shee, who's our current president of Ingram Microphones. She asks them at at company events. And most of the executives are usually pretty flattered to be asked. So one question people had is how would invite a speaker be different with a corporate club versus a social club? I think for a corporate club, it's probably a little easier to find an interested audience for the event, whereas for a social club, you probably need to find some kind of community leader, some kind of significant person, because you don't want to just invite club members, you also want to be able to attract guests to this event. Cost could be another issue. We don't usually pay executives to speak, but maybe for a social club, you may need to pay for food or travel expenses. So those would be key differences. So once we have asked the executive speaker to speak and we have a time and date in place, the next step is to publicize the event. Again, it's probably a little bit easier for a corporate club. We basically just send out a mass email to all the Ingram Micro associates telling them about the event. And then in the event invite, other than the time and place, we have the description of the executive that usually tells people, it's like, hey, this is an amazing person to come speak, so please come to our event. We also have information about the Toastmasters that helps get the name out about the club and also provides a way for people to contact us if they're interested in either guesting any of our meetings or joining. And then other than the email, the event is also advertised on our meetup page. Again, some differences for advertising between corporate club and social club. For a social club, you probably need to use social media a little bit more extensively to get the event out, and also maybe put up flyers around the community. So that would be the main difference. As for the basic agenda of the event itself, if the event is in person, we start off with some networking. During the event, then we have a Toastmaster who gives the introduction, and during that introduction, they'll talk about Toastmasters a little bit. And before we invite the speaker to speak, we have a member give a testimonial speech. So they talk about obviously Toastmasters and how great it is. Again, it's a way to entice members to come join. And then we have the speaker speak, and we finish off with some closing remarks. And when the event is in person, usually members of the club will stay back after the event to talk to guests who are interested in joining. Usually people feel very inspired after the event. And then I just wanted to go over a little bit about in-person versus virtual, since like now I've kind of seen both. So some things I noticed in person, you definitely have a lot more opportunities to talk to people face to face. That way, it usually like helps get members more interested in joining. You also don't have to worry about technical issues in person as much. Actually, when we were doing this last event, it was originally scheduled on Microsoft Teams, and we had so many technical difficulties that we had to end up rescheduling the event, and we used a different feature. It's called Live Event, which is a lot more robust system, and it went a lot more smoothly. So it was our first executive speaker virtual event, so it was definitely a bit of a learning experience for us. On the flip side, the biggest advantage was we could invite a lot more people. So usually in the in-person event, we only have people attending from Irvine. But for the virtual event, if you look at this map here, the orange dots show where all the people were attending from. So as you can see, we had people all over from US attend. And like I mentioned before, we had about 376 attendees. And then what are the results we usually get from this event? Obviously, more people know about Toastmasters, and we have more new members. And just from this last event we've already had about 10 new people guest at our meetings so far. And then obviously not everyone is there to learn about Toastmasters, but it's also just a wonderful platform for the executives and the Ingram micro employees to connect with each other, which a lot of people really like. And I mean, that's the overview of the event. I just wanted to leave a few minutes for anyone, if you have any questions. I'm definitely happy to answer them. I'm going to stop sharing here.